Hi, my name is Karen Walker, and I'm with Black Conservatives for Truth. Tonight, we're going to have a roundtable discussion, and I have four guest panelists with me. First, I have Howard Nelson Cromwell. He's with the media group, The Conservative Urbanite. Your website is theconservativeurbanite.com?
Yes.
Okay. The or just
theconservativeurbanite.com.
Okay, good. Okay. And I also have Cliff Leftridge and Solomon Graham. Tonight, I want to discuss a lot of information that's been occurring in the news. But first, I want to talk with you, Howard. You are a member of the LGBT community.
Yes, I am.
And I would like to get your take, your opinion on transgenders in the military.
Okay, well, as I've said since Donald Trump announced this, I don't think we're there yet. I think that, I'm not saying that we won't ever get there, but currently we're not. I think there needs to be a lot of policy changes. I know there needs to be a lot of more research in order for us to make that transition to transgender serving in the military. Right now, I don't think we are. So I don't think that they should be allowed to serve openly, not even openly. I don't think they should be allowed to serve in the military. And what I mean there, I'm talking about those who are transitioning. Like if you're not transitioning yet, then as long as you stay, if you came as a man, you're still a man, and you feel you're transgendered, that's okay. I'm talking about specifically those who are transitioning. I don't think there's no place in the military for them now.
And that's a very unusual stance. I would think that most members of the LGBT community, they would be for transgenders in the military. So are you saying if you are already, if you've already gone through your change, you're already transgender, you don't have a problem with them being there?
No, that's not. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it if they have not transitioned yet, because there's a whole physical attribute that comes to the military with regulations. And so I'm not quite sure that the military is there yet as far as the PT test. How do you then rate, because, women, how do you then grade these transgenders on a PT test? Women are not held to the
PT test?
Oh, I'm sorry, physical training test.
Okay.
Women, which is very important in the military, you have to pass the PT test in order for you to get, to even be found eligible to serve. And so if, how then do you, have a transgender person, like what standards do you hold them? Do you hold them at to the men's standards if they are transitioning to a female, or if they're a female transitioning to a man, do you hold them for the female standard? So I think there's a whole lot of policies that need to be changed in order for us to be able to accept transgenders in the military right now.
Okay, so your position is just because we are not equipped to handle this. Do you see this as what do you see this as? Is it a medical issue or a?
Well, yeah, I think it's logistic. I think it's a logistic issue. I think it's a, an economic issue. I think that, I know that, being someone who has served as a medical specialist in the U.S. Army, someone who served in both clinical and field settings, I just know that we are not ready to handle, transgender issues in the field. And so if we can't handle them in the field, then these people are not ready they're not combat ready, which is the whole reason why anybody should ever join the military. And so if they're not combat ready, then they should not be serving in the military. If that's the case, then they just simply cannot get a paycheck. And so and also I think it's an economic issue as well. Who's paying for these, these surgeries that sometimes it costs up to $200,000. And I know that the left try to say, well, you know what, they keep using this equation that, the government is spending, $2 million, however much they're spending on Viagra. But, they're saying that this cost is very nominal, but per person, I don't think that cost is, very nominal. I think that if you're talking about, on the grand scheme of things, yes, the military has a budget, but when you're talking about per person, I don't think that spending $200,000 or whatever the cost is for a fully transgender, for a transition person, for a transgender to fully transition, that cost is still astronomical when it comes to a per person cost.
Okay, so then let me make sure, I just want to make sure that I have this correct. if you have already transitioned and you
No. I'm saying that if they have
no no
not
what I'm saying
Go
no
ahead.
no what I'm saying so what I'm saying is it fine for you if the person has already transitioned into, they've already transitioned to the gender and then they join the military? So it's, there's no need for surgeries or anything.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that because the reason why I'm not saying that, what I'm saying is that if they have not transitioned yet, if they, you could be transgender and still not to have sexual reassignment surgery. So
Mm,
there's a lot of people out there who consider themselves transgendered.
I see what you're
If they want
saying.
to be in the military, God forbid it, but let them go and serve. I'm talking about the people who have transgender and who are considering transgendered. I'm sorry, transitioning. That should not happen while serving in the military. And if you have already
Okay.
I'm sorry, if you already have transitioned, then I think there's a whole policy change that need to happen in military, because then what happens when, what standard are you held to? Are you held to that female standard if you were born a male, or are you, held at a male standard? And clearly, regardless of whether you're a female, regardless of whether you're born female or male, I mean, it's two completely different body types. So it's a way that the military has to handle that before we can open the floodgates and say, come one, come all. There's also this thing that, I guess the liberals try to say that, everybody has a right to serve. You don't have a right to serve. There's a whole list of medical issues that if you have them, you cannot serve. If you have diabetes, you cannot serve. If you have, if you don't have 20/20 or you have eye issues, you cannot serve. So transgender, I think, goes, it should go into one of those situations to where, it needs to be looked at seriously before we can say that, let them in to serve.
Okay. So then let me make sure, because I want to make sure that I am not confused. Okay. So you can be considered transgender and not have actually gone through a sexual reassignment surgery, correct?
Absolutely.
So in your position as a member of the LBGT community is, if you have already gone through the surgery, do you find it acceptable to join the military? The surgery has already occurred.
Currently, no. No. Not without the policy changes that need to go into effect. That the military, it's a whole host of things that the military needs to look at.
Okay.
And I think we were talking about that. I was talking about that with Solomon before we went on. And so he has served in the military as well, can probably shed some light on this as well. There's a whole list of other physical things that need to happen before the military is ready to accept.
What type of reception do you receive from other members of the LGBT community? I have to think that you are a minority in this.
I am. It's like being Black and conservative. It's like, of course, they think that you're hating your own, or they think that, there's some, it's not anything about that. I love the transgender community. I'm a huge supporter of them. But I think, it's when it comes to this particular issue, I've served in the military. I know what I know what the community is like. There's something called military bearing those who served in the military, has family in the military, who's in that military community, they understand that. And that kind of thing cannot be broken. And I think that if we open the floodgates, I think, military bearing will simply go out the window.
Okay, briefly, what do you think about this, Solomon?
Well, like you said, I don't think the military right now is equipped. When he says equipped, that means that there are a lot of things that you have to take into consideration. One, in the Army, because I think we both serve in the Army, you cannot be in combat arms, you cannot be in infantry, you cannot be in armor, you cannot field artillery. I still think you cannot be a woman and serve in any combat role. You can serve in a combat support role, but you cannot serve in special forces, anything like that. So the military, as set up right now, is not designed to handle transgender people, because just from basic training to all your training, everything is assigned a gender. When he was talking about the physical part, if you're transitioning, so you are a female, you're a woman, and you're going to be a man, okay? When you are still considered a woman, but let's say you're starting to take testosterone or whatever the case may be, or you've even gone through the purpose of having reassignment surgery, then, like he said, logistically, where are you going to fall? Are you going to fall under the physical standards for a man? Are you going to fall under the physical standards for a woman? Same thing. If I signed up to like I said, I was in 92 Alpha, which was logistics. So if I was a woman and I was not able to go into combat arms, let's say all of a sudden I decide, hey, I want to go special forces now that I'm transitioning to a man. Can all of a sudden the military accept me wanting to go in and necessarily maybe change my MOS or, learn some other type of field? So that's why I say the military right now is not set up, because even from a recruitment standpoint, if I think I'm recruiting a woman, I'm going to recruit her in a certain area. Wow. If I think I'm recruiting a man, I'm going to recruit him in anywhere. Like men, you can go anywhere. Women, it's going to be a whole page I'm not going to even discuss it.
Okay. So for, I understand you're similar to Howard, that it's mostly logistical in terms of,
clear that up.
Okay, now it's mostly logistical because, and you're right, when you're transitioning, from what I understand, you may require some type of counseling. If you're in the midst of transitioning, with the military, are they equipped to do that? There's a lot of and when I say counseling, I'm just saying that to help you through that transition. Medicines, reactions, that's a lot. The military is here to protect and serve. And so I get what you're saying and I agree with it. I just, when you told me that, Howard, I was really floored.
I remember.
You do not hear members of the LGBT communities, say transgenders should not serve in the military. What do you think about gay marriage?
Well, I can.
Howard.
Oh.
You want to say something? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I said one thing real quick because I looked at somebody talking about the economics.
And I'm going to ask Cliff too.
Yeah, the economics part that I think Howard was referring to earlier, like you said, when you're transitioning, when you're in the military, basically everything is free. So what he's saying is all those hormones and things they will be getting, we will be paying for the prescription drugs they will need to transition.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's not very many people, and I have to say, it's not very many people in the military that is transitioning. From what the research that I did, the expense for the surgeries compared to what you spend on Viagra, compared to what you spend on a lot of other medicines, it's very small.
Karen, you keep saying that. You keep saying that, but the fact of the matter is, you're looking at the grand total. I'm talking about on a very micro level. I'm talking about for one particular, I'm talking about soldier to soldier. I'm soldier to soldier. And so when you're talking about that, I mean, it's for a surgeon to get, and I'm going to keep saying this, it's an elective surgery because there's a lot of transgenders out there who cannot afford to transition. And so they have to, it's body dysmorphic disorders, let's call it what it is. And so, so there's a lot of people out there who can't afford to actually transition to the body that they feel like they were born in. And so, so this is an elective surgery. They're not going to die if they don't have it. And so, I only bring that up to say that economically, the people who can afford to do that, they're spending, upwards of sometime, $200,000. I mean, it's pretty expensive.
Right.
The military is paying for that. So I'm talking about soldier to soldier. You're talking about more of the macro level. I mean, nobody's spending $200,000 a month $200,000 on Viagra. I mean, you're talking about the grand scheme of it. Shouldn't be anyway.
I hear what you're saying. I want to ask.
I'm saving. Go ahead.
I want to ask you just real quick because I want to move on to some other things. But Howard, what do you think about gay marriage?
For me, marriage is just not for me. I mean, I think that the word marriage, I grew up Roman Catholic. I think that marriage is a religious term. I think the word marriage should be for a man and woman. However, I do believe that the LGBT community needs to be afforded the same rights as our heterosexual counterparts. And so
you are not for the legality of gay marriage. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not for calling it marriage. And this is very semantics on my end because I'm not for the word marriage. Now, if we're talking about, I think they were throwing around the term, what were they calling it a few years ago?
Domestic partnerships?
What was it called?
Domestic partnership?
Yeah, those kind of things. As long as we have the same rights that our heterosexual counterparts get, I'm all for it.
Same legal rights.
Yeah, but the word marriage, just to me, as a Roman Catholic, someone who grew up in the Catholic Church, I just think that's a religious thing. And
Mhm.
Government should have no, should have no say so when it comes to that. As long as they make sure that we have our rights, so they can call it what they want to.
Okay, good. I mean, I think this is really interesting because you are a conservative. You consider yourself a far right conservative,
I'm
correct?
fine. I'm a staunch conservative. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Okay.
staunch conservative, right? Cliff is a conservative, correct?
All right.
We all are, but the views of conservatives, it tends to be very myopic. And conservatives, we are not monolithic.
We're not.
And we can have varying views and still retain our conservatism. And for you, Howard, I'm just saying that it is a very unusual perception that you have regarding, transgender, serving in the military, and gay marriage. And, I'm accepting of it because I agree with you. But I know it must be hard in your community to have to deal with that. What do you think, Cliff? What is your opinion, or do you have an opinion?
On gay marriage?
Uh-huh. Or
Yeah,
transgenders, either one.
The transgender one, I would say, I think the elephant in the room is that can you get men to follow a person who's transgender? I mean, for all the talk of logistical support, when you have a person in front of you who you do not like, or you do not agree with, or you find fundamentally weird, am I going to take orders from this person? If I am, to what degree am I going to carry out those orders to the fullest? Now, I haven't been in the military, but I certainly know what it's like to follow someone who you just fundamentally do not respect, who you would not want to be around in any other way. And in the military, correct me if I'm wrong, the person with the higher rank, you follow their order.
You do. And I was going to ask Solomon about this, actually. As a military, it's in the military, we can care less whether you like us or not. If I outrank you and I tell you to do your job is to follow orders. And so I don't think that that's going to be an issue because, I mean, there's very kind of chauvinistic guys in the military who every day have women, running their command. You have women on top of them or in charge of them, leading them. And so I don't think that's going to be an issue. I don't think that would be an issue. What do you think, Solomon, on that?
Nah, you gonna follow the rank. You're not gonna risk any type of administrative action just because you want to make a point.
Okay.
So the whole following and the leading part. Now, what I would say is combat, but we haven't gotten to that point. But if we're talking about, like you said, you were in the medical, I was in logistics. If the woman was a man or vice versa was a lieutenant colonel and she or he is telling me do this, do that, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to do it.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Right.
it doesn't matter. You're going to respect it, man.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's interesting. I know a lot of people will have some questions, and I will forward those to you, Howard, and perhaps, maybe we could talk about this again. So what is the next topic that we said we would discuss?
You asked me about gay marriage. Am I?
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, yeah, you didn't let my man.
You didn't answer? You didn't answer?
Oh, no, I was no pun intended, I was submarined by Howard when he broke into it. I'm messing with you, brother. Gay marriage, yeah, here's the thing, and this kind of hits home because I came from a single parent. And to me, marriage without children, that concept really just doesn't go. What's the point of getting married if you're not going to have children? Marriage before the gender aspect discriminated on familial status, marital status, age, and gender. And all four of those characteristics were centered around the idea that something has to be good for the children, and the marriage unit is the best place for children to be raised. I think what the gay community did as a sleight of hand is they said love should be added to that. And nowhere in any marriage contract does it say you have to love the other person. It is strictly, these are the legal parameters that you have to abide by to get married. And gays slipped in, well, you're denying me love. Well, love is not really part of the legal marriage contract. In doing so, I think they elevated marriage from something that is good for children to something that is good for adults. And once you do that, once you leave children in the dust, then, all bets are off. And I know the gay community laughs at it, but why can't I marry my sister if love is the only requirement? Exactly, you frown. But we frowned on gay marriage too. If the idea is love and that's the determinant, and we're both adults, we're not going to take away the age thing, then why can't I go and marry 3 people or 4 people? Again, people laugh at it now and say that's crazy, it's not accepted, but the gay community has set an argument that has a precedent that I think some people could rightfully say, well, me too. But no one.
That's okay. I don't want to like kind of hop on this, but I kind of disagree with that in the sense that I think it's kind of disrespectful actually to kind of equate 2 grown men or 2 grown women who are in love or whatever wanting to create some kind of union. And and it's not. Let me just say this: it's not necessarily because of love. I mean, it's yeah, they love each other, but there's also legal things that come along with that. And so, like I said, the word marriage, I can take it or leave it. I don't like it, but if the LGBT community wants to fight for it, then I say go ahead and fight. My thing is this: as long as they have the same rights and protections that the heterosexual counterparts do, then I'm okay with that. And so when you say that it's a legal thing and there's a law about why people get married. I mean, there's a whole thing of like, if I'm with someone and they go to the hospital, I want to be able to see them while they're in the hospital without some kind of legal, contract. That can't happen. If they die and I've spent 20 years with this person, and their family decide that I am not worthy enough to get a part of this the money that we both built together over the last 30 years, then these people are not, I mean, we're not eligible to get that. And so what I'm saying is that there is a whole legal aspect that comes with, some kind of certificate. I don't know if it's the marriage, I don't know what the name of it would be, but there is a, well,
basically you want it to be legal, but it doesn't necessarily have to be called marriage.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I got you.
And actually, what's so fundamentally it's just funny about that is I actually disagree with that, because to call it civil union or domestic partnership, to me sounds very 3/5 of a human being. You can have all the rights, but we're not going to call it that. To me, I'm like, listen, either let them get married or don't get married. Otherwise, you are kind of making them second class. We're not going to call it marriage. But if I have a friend that I've known for 50 years, we're not married, I can't go see him if he's sick, because I'm not a part of his family. I can't, the whole legal system will not allow him to have some of my stuff, or I can't have some of his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting married to my best friend. So there is a love aspect that is involved, a certain type of love connection aspect that is involved that the government is now recognizing that they did not recognize before. I'm sure the assumption was that if you're a parent, you love your kids.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, there is an idea that whatever you have, we're going to give it to your children. And it's going to be passed along that way. Gays have kind of introduced a new segment of person, if you will, who is now involved in this legal concept, I think, of marriage. And I think that was a sleight of hand, and I think that's not the way we should go. But the civil union domestic partnership, call it marriage to me. Otherwise, you're second class.
So Cliff, are you saying that you support gay marriage, or are you saying that you do not support it as a conservative? Which one are you saying?
I do not support gay marriage. Statement 1. Statement 2, if we're going to have marriage between 2 people of the same gender, let's call it marriage.
Call it marriage, okay.
Let's not demean it by calling it civil union. That's
fair enough. Unfair. That's a good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that was a good topic. Let's talk about, Solomon, you wanted to discuss conservatism. Why isn't conservatism, why aren't, in particular, Black conservatives more accepted amongst minorities, amongst the Black community in particular? What is your opinion about that?
To me, I feel like it's, well, I guess you want to talk about the why. To me, the why, I feel like it's a lot of complacency over what you're used to doing. It's not necessarily like conservatism is some odd new thing that people don't agree with, because when you talk to certain people, it's not that our ideology or how we believe is just so outside of the norm that it can't be accepted. I just feel like so many people are already, basically, you're just used to what you're doing. My mom was a Democrat, my dad was a Democrat. We always check D. It's the common thing to do. It's the popular thing to do. It's the socially acceptable thing to do. So I feel like people just pretty much get caught up, and you look at it as far as on a national level, everybody, for the most part, I mean, your Hollywood, your media, your musicians, your people in entertainment, your celebrities, your athletes, for the most part, they're all not conservative for the most part. That, you know, come out and that are overly spoken. Like you take somebody like LeBron James and is overly supporting Hillary Clinton, then everyone sees, oh, well, LeBron James supports Hillary Clinton, he must be doing the right thing, or LeBron James does it, so I must be if I'm voting against LeBron, then maybe something is wrong with me. So what I feel like is it's almost just a popular thing to do. It's not necessarily that people disagree with it, but it's more or less, like I said, it's kind of like what is being said.
Well, and that is a good point. I also think more often than not, in particular, I'm talking about Black folk, even those who do not identify themselves as conservatives, they may identify themselves as liberal or Democrats. They often have some conservative positions. Even if they vote Democrat all their life and they call themselves that, I don't know a lot of Black liberals who have no conservative positions. They may not like conservatives, but they still Republicans, but they have conservative positions. A lot of people think that if you are not a liberal, then you must be a conservative. The opposite of liberalism is not conservatism. The opposite of conservatism is actually progressivism. And it seems as though the Democrat Party is moving farther to the left in policy and positions. And even though they're moving further to the left, they still hold many conservative viewpoints. And I think, for me, this is just my opinion, people, they look at conservatives as being part of a group, a party. You have the Republican Party, and then you also have conservatism. You have liberalism, and then you also have the Democrat Party. From my position, I am a conservative. I vote and I caucus with the Republicans because they most identify with my beliefs. Right. But I am not trying to join the Republican Party as of being a club membership. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused. I can never vote Republican because they act like this, because they do this, and they're just mean, and they're just this. I'm not joining them because I'm trying to get into a membership. I'm just joining because you vote closest to what I think. And I don't want to be long-winded about this, but I do think one of the things that we can do as conservatives, when we talk to non-conservatives, when we talk to liberals, instead of pushing the Republican Party, which is, I don't have any problem with it, but what we should do is to push conservative positions. Mm-hmm. And I think that if you talk to a liberal and you talk to them on issues that are important to them, find out what issues are important to you. And once you identify what those issues are, then we can tell them, well, this is the conservative position, because what we want to do is to offer an alternative.
It's not going to work, Karen.
You disagree?
It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Well, but think about it. If you can offer, we have many single issue voters. Many people voted for Donald Trump, if only because of the wall. They could disagree with everything else, but because that wall was so important to them, you had Democrats crossing over to vote because of the wall. And so what I'm saying is, if you can talk to a liberal and you can identify an issue and offer a conservative alternative, I don't care if they call themselves Republican or conservative. If they're voting R, that's all I care about. That's a win.
So I think we're talking about Black liberals here when you say liberal.
Well, we're talking about minorities. Mm-hmm.
Blacks, well, minorities in general, Blacks specifically, see the Republican Party as a white party. You'll never get around that.
Wait, say that again.
You're talking party. I'm talking position.
Let me just hang. I think all of us know people in our family. My goodness, my family is rock rib conservative, but they all pull the lever for a Democrat. if it was about issues and if it was about what the Republican Party could do, they would have been Republicans a long time ago. But I think there's a very deep strain in the Black community that says authenticity requires that you be everything that white is not. And white people vote Republican. So I can't be a Republican. In addition to, our people seem to like symbolism and words more than they like action. The atrocity that Obama left for our community should make every Black person a Republican. But you still see them hold on to Obama and the Democratic Party as the way, the truth, and the light. And I think it's because the Democratic Party gives Black people this "we love you" message, "we'll take care of you" message, "we'll protect you" message, irrespective of the fact that clearly they're not the party to vote for. So it's very, very difficult to get into someone's mind or a community's mind that they should change their political vote when they fundamentally have to see themselves as everything that that party does not represent. Mm-hmm. Blacks don't want to be seen as going with the white person. Certainly, any Black male in college, if he wants to talk to any Black woman, he's certainly not going to say, "I'm Republican." You can't be seen as that party. So I will say I'm Democrat, or I'll vote Democrat for nothing else that it maintains my Blackness. Maybe I'm rambling.
Well, but what I'm saying is, and based on what you're saying, if you were to, if a conservative was to talk to a Black person about conservatism, they automatically take it back to a party, to a group. I'm not talking about a group. I'm not talking about a party. I'm talking about a position, an issue. I think the way you reach people is through issues that are important to them, not issues that we think should be important to them. I don't think that we should talk to a Black Democrat and tell them about conservatism by dragging down liberalism. I don't think the way to do it is to say, Barack Obama, he was terrible, and the Democrats, you this, it's just awful. That's why you need to consider us, because you're insulting them. I think the way that you do it is that you ask them, what is important to you? I can never vote for Republicans because I don't have anything in common. Well, do you want good schools? Well, we do too. Well, what do you think about charter schools? Well, we want charter schools also. And this is our position for charter schools. If someone is really into charter schools, that's just enough to make them vote right there. Another thing, people think in order to vote Republican, you have to vote Republican on a national level, and
right.
You don't.
Right.
Most changes that happens in our lives happen on the state and local level. So even if you never wanted to vote for a Republican for president, you have state senators, you have in the House, you have councilmen, you have mayors. They're the ones that's going to make a difference. So I wouldn't necessarily say discount every Republican because you don't like the president.
Right.
I think it's hurt yourself. What do you think, Howard?
I think you're right. I think you're hitting it right on the nail. I think you're hitting the nail right on the head. I think you're absolutely correct. I also think that, going back to the initial question, like why we as minorities are not, why we are not that amped about conservatism, not only what Solomon said, but I think it's also more that it's ignorance. It's ignorance. Not to say that they're ignorant people, but they're I think that we as Black people are led to believe that that yes, we're Black and we should be kind of going our vote to the Democratic Party because they're our saviors. And for me, like, it's funny, I talk to my white liberal friends, like, I don't understand any Black person that's a liberal. I can't wrap my head around it. I get infuriated by it. White liberals, I'm like, okay, you guys can have it. But I just cannot get my head around a Black liberal. And so I'm constantly having these conversations with my white liberal friends who, I feel they have this whole guilty thing that they're trying to fix because they think that they're more Black than I am because they're liberal. And I'm a very, very proud Black man who is a conservative. And I never have understood why we as Black people would not would go against anything, you know, that the conservative party. I'm sorry, I'm not going to say Republican because any of the conservative values, and this is coming from a gay Black LGBT member, so let me just throw that out there. I don't understand why we would go against anything kind of Black and kind of conservative, with I guess conservative value based. I just don't get it, and so I don't know if you guys can help me out on this one. I'm so trying to understand it. I've been trying to understand it since I knew what politics was, and I still can't.
Well, I mean, you have to be honest. I mean, if we really want to just keep it real, the Republican Party as a whole, they have an outreach problem, I think, reaching out towards Black people. Me personally, and everyone is different. Me personally, I don't vote Republican or align myself with the Republican Party because I want to be accepted. It's
Right.
not because I'm looking for a friend. I'm not looking for, I'm not looking for, you don't have to like me. If you have a position that I believe in a position, and you're going to be the one that moves that position and, to my favor, I'm going to vote for, I'm going to vote for you. We don't have to call each other on the phone. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So at the same time, but see, that's me. That's how. But other people, and I can understand. You don't come talk to us. If Republicans, when they want to talk to Jews, they go to Jewish organizations. They go to Jewish organizations. When they want to talk to veterans, they go to veterans organizations. Okay. When they want to talk to Black people, oftentimes they don't necessarily come to us. And when they come to us, it seems like they're talking at us instead of with us. You understand what I'm saying? So I think it's really all about approach. But I can also say, too, if you are a white Republican politician and you are going to, let's say, NAACP organization or some type of organization, you're running for office, you only have so many dollars and so much time to spend. If you feel that you're not going to get any kind of reception from a Black group of people, they probably won't come because their return on their investment is not good, which is why when you reach out to Black people, you need to do that before you start running for office. Right when the election ends, that's when you need to start reaching out, because when you wait till 4 weeks before an election, it just seems kind of disingenuous. So I think we have an outreach problem. I think we have a perception. So I think if we did that, if we just started outreaching when an election ends, that would go a long way right there. What do you think, Solomon?
I disagree. I think the major problem that conservatives, Republicans have is the packaging. And what we have the biggest issue is right now, you can go to the past, you can go to the future. First of all, we have 0 identifiable candidates. That's one of the major problems. We have no candidate, not saying like the Democrats do too, but the Democrats have a lot more options of people that they can identify. We say, well, who could we identify with in the Republican Party? You're like Tim Scott, my love, what's the guy? Well, no, he ain't even in there. Mr. Keys used to be there. So it's like you got 3 people. So a situation where, and then when you see Tim Scott, and it's like, no offense to them or whatever, because my love is okay, but it's a situation where, not saying that they want to relate, because I don't think people are liberals or Democrats or just, hand in hand with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi either. But the packaging that we have, the options that we have are not, to me, viable. Okay? I live in the 5th district in Atlanta. John Lewis is the congressman. The last 3 people who they try to put up against John Lewis have just been, random Joe Blow white guy. And I'm like, he's not going to be able to win, period. He's never going to be able to win the 5th like that. The same way, like when you had the Karen Handel situation with John Ossoff, right? John Ossoff was nobody, but he was just young. He could talk okay. He was a robot, but at least he was young, and the young people get out there and say, oh, well, he's young. I'm young too. I want to vote for him. It's like if you come to my district, you come over here to Southwest Atlanta, and you're this white businessman who's like, yeah, I'm the Republican candidate for your district, and you're looking like, you think I'm going to vote for you over John Lewis? It's not going to happen. But what I'm saying is, that's why I say it's the packaging, because I totally agree with what Cliff said. We know they're white liberals. White liberals run the Democratic Party. We know this. White people vote Democrat. We know that the majority of those 53 million votes for Hillary Clinton were white people. But the white people only sticks to Republicans. It doesn't stick to Democrats. It doesn't stick to liberals. The whiteness of the party, historically, the majority of your abolitionists were what? Republican. Nobody wants to talk about their history. They go back to people like, well, JFK. That's where they want to go, and they want to start researching. Oh, okay, well, yeah, that's why I'm Democrat, because JFK, he fought for our civil rights, and I get it. But even JFK's whiteness still does not stick.
It doesn't.
Remember, go back to Bill Clinton. Remember before Barack Obama was elected, what did they say about Bill Clinton? He is the first black president.
First black president, yes. Jesus. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to tell you is, if the Republicans want to go forward, they have to start looking for this, like the Donald Trump thing. I'm not necessarily saying that's the pattern and go, but if you had young black dude, maybe ex-military, 30s or 40s, you know, whatever, normal black guy. You understand what I'm saying? Not necessarily like because this is what I hear all the time from progressives and liberals. We're uppity. We tell them to get off the Democratic plantation.
Pull yourselves up by your bootstraps.
Correct. We come off with this arrogance to us, like we have arrived, and you have not arrived to an enlightened sense like us, and it's not going to work. So what I'm saying is, if you're ever going to try to get that vote, if you're ever going to try to get them, you have to say, like, okay, look, I watch football just like you. My team is the Falcons. We can start to agree on the smallest level and work our way up. But if I come at you like you said before, you know, oh, you vote Democrat? Oh, I already know what I'm dealing with. You just brainwash. You know, you let them, don't you understand the KKK? And you start going through the list of Democratic shots you want to throw at them. It's not going to work. Mm-hmm. So
let me just say this as well, though. You know, let me just say this as well. I'm looking at our feed on a Black Conservative for Truth Facebook the page, and Stephen Corey David just said something. I think it's very important. He said, you know, that we have to stop hiding our conservatism. I think that there's so many more conservatives out there. Like, I know that I talk to people who are Black and conservative. I live in Washington, D.C. We are a one-party city. Everybody's a Democrat. But when I go and I talk to my friends, I'm very open about, you know, to certain people. I'm very open about my, that I'm a registered Republican, I'm conservative. And they, you know, they're like, well, why is that? And we start talking, they're like, wow, I do, you know, I've been trying to say this, and I don't, you know, every time I say that, my friends are doing this, or I lost friends over that. But we have to stand up for this. We have to stand up and say, look, this is who the hell I am. You know what? You don't have to like it, but, you know, that's not going to change who I am. And I think we have to stand up and fight, just like the Democrats stand up and fight. They fight us tooth and nail about their liberalism. We have to stand up and fight for that and not be ashamed of it, be unwavering about it. And until we do that, it's like, you know, we have to really take pride in being Black conservatives. You know what I mean?
But Solomon, let me say this though, man, and I hate to bring up the gender aspect too, but if you're a Black man who's Republican, forget about your dating life. You cannot go out and say, I'm a Black Republican.
I mean, it's plenty of, I'm just going to be, well, you're talking about dating Black women, right?
Well,
yeah.
No, that's not true.
Even with white women nowadays, white women are saying no Trump voters.
I don't know about y'all.
See, this is news to me. I never would have thought that you would have had problems dating, being.
I don't have problems dating, but I'm saying, I'm pretty good looking. I'm sorry. But what I'm saying simply is, though, that what Solomon was saying is we need to come out, understand that the massive penalties that are applied to the one brother that says, I'm Republican. At a Black college, if you came up and said, I'm Republican, that's 4 years you're not going to deal with any women.
So what's the alternative then? What's the alternative? You lie? You stay closeted? I mean, what's the alternative?
Okay.
Well, and that's where you and I probably, this is my thing. I just want Republicans to,
Let me ask you this, Cliff. Cliff, when you were at Morehouse, were you a Republican?
Yeah, but I didn't know it.
He's from Potomac. Of course he was a Republican. He's from Potomac, Maryland. Of course he was Republican.
Maryland is the most democratic place in the world.
Potomac, no.
No, but what I'm saying to you is that be ready to come out. I think, what's the name? Stacey Dash or something?
Yeah.
She wrote a book like There Goes My Dating Life. And it's kind of funny when you come out and say, I am Republican, I am this. There are cultural penalties that are applied that may interrupt your life in other ways, that may make it such that it's better just to be quiet. It may be that way, I guess, if you're a gay person. It may be that way if, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But you have to be very tactful on who you know. I think that this kind of page that you have as kind of almost a semi-underground network of us getting together is a good thing. But to come out and broadcast, I'm Republican, beautiful. You have just given away a whole lot of your fun.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I agree. I agree with what you're saying to a certain extent. And I mean, I can say because that's why me and my ex technically. I mean, not technically. That's
Okay, but what about when you were at Hampton? Were you a Republican when you were at Hampton, a conservative?
Yes. When they asked that question, I dared not stand up because they asked.
That's right.
Hey, you know, I know we all Democrats because they were mad that about the George Bush thing. So they was like, ain't that sad what happened to John Kerry? I know we ain't got no Republicans. We got any Republicans? My friend was like, don't do it. Don't do it.
Let me say something because I want to move on to another subject real quick, but I just want to say two things. Number one, I have noticed, at least in our group, Black Conservatives for Truth, many Black conservatives, Republicans, they attended HBCUs. I just find that to be very interesting. We have a large, I found that to be interesting. Also, to Solomon's point, spread out though. To Solomon's point about having a viable candidate, conservatives, we're not monolithic. Neither are Black conservatives. But it seems like we only have a certain type of Black conservative to run. I personally believe, and this is not the time to go into this because it will get us all sidetracked. But I personally believe that far more Blacks, even if they do not identify, I know several Blacks who tell me, Black people who tell me, I am conservative, but I don't identify with the Republican Party or a Democrat. I vote Republican, but I don't call myself a Republican. Mm-hmm. But the point that I'm saying is there are a lot of Black conservatives, but because they may focus on different aspects of something that's important to them, they are identified as liberal or not the right type of conservative. They don't appeal to the mass markets of the Republican Party. So those typically aren't the people who are encouraged to run for office. Those aren't the people who actually get beyond the primaries. So I think we need to recognize is that there's not just one type of Black conservative. We're not monolithic. Mm-hmm. So but that's a whole a different topic. And the reason why I say that is because there's only one type of conservative. Black conservative is not a party. It's not a group. There's only one type of conservative. But the way we view conservatism is based on the lens of our perceptions and our experiences. So if I'm a Christian, I'm going to be a Christian conservative. If I'm really into Black empowerment, I might consider myself a Black conservative or a social conservative or constitutional conservative, but you're still just conservative. You see what I'm saying? My point is that the Black conservatives that are running for office, they're more of a variance of us than is being shown. So I guess I'll end that there. The last thing I want to talk about real quick is this national anthem. Let me just tell you since I'm talking, and then I'll give you all the floor before we close out. In my personal opinion, I see the national anthem and people calling for the national anthem, and I understand why people kneel. I also understand that I personally think it's disrespectful. I also understand that that is a First Amendment right, the freedom to assemble. I also understand, just as I did not like when Barack Obama would force through, he would legally force bakeries or businesses to serve or to do things that they did not believe was right for them and their faith. I don't believe government has a place in your business to tell you how to run it. Likewise, I do not believe the government has a place to tell the NFL how they should run it. I don't think it's appropriate to say these players should be suspended. You need to do this. You need to do that. The NFL is a private company. So this kneeling is a workplace issue.
Right.
This is really what it is. It's a workplace issue. And if the NFL is going to continue to allow their players to kneel, that is up to them. They understand the ramifications that they risk losing business, they risk gaining business. But either way, this is a workplace issue that is best left between the employer and the employee. So anybody jump in and tell me what you think.
Oh, okay. This is my thing. Let me just go ahead. Do you want to go ahead, Cliff?
I see you're gonna have to go. I'll get out.
Okay, so let me just say this. I've been following this from the beginning. I've been following it since Kirkpatrick started this last season. Let me just say this. People think that I'm anti I'm anti their constitutional rights. Hell, I fought for them. I served for them. I'm all about protecting the Constitution and America's constitutional rights. That's not the issue. Nobody's disputing whether they have the right to kneel. They do. People have a right to burn the flag. Does that mean it's any less disrespectful? It's disrespectful as hell. As someone who served in the military, and Solomon, you may look at this completely different because I talked to some other folks who served in the military who thinks it's not disrespectful. I think it's highly disrespectful. I think it's disrespectful to our national anthem. I think it's disrespectful to our country. I think it's absolutely no reason. There's no way that they should be doing it. Second of all, the whole reason why this whole situation started was built on lies. It was built on some fabrication by Black Lives Matters and that organization. This think that somehow we as Black people are being gunned down at some astronomical rate, more than our white counterparts. And it's just this police brutality is it's serious, ugly here in our Black community. And while we have some cases, it's not nearly what they're saying. I mean, I've just finished this report that it's half of. I mean, it's literally laughable if you actually look at the numbers. And so the reason why this whole national anthem issue, I mean, the national anthem protest was even started, it's based on a fabrication. So that's all. That was always my issue with that. It was like, okay, these NFL players want to jump on a bandwagon, but they really have no clue. They're very ignorant about the actual numbers. It's very basic. Look at the numbers, and it'll tell you that we are not being gunned down at some astronomical rate or some disproportionate rate when it comes to police involved shootings. So, but I will say this about Colin Kaepernick. He's putting his money where his mouth is. Unlike all of these other kind of blowhards, these other players who simply, I think they're just doing it for the to jump on a bandwagon. I would say this about him: whether I think that he is right or wrong, I think he's genuine in what he believes. I think the information he got is skewed, and which led him to this decision. But he's putting his money where his mouth is. He's donating, $100,000 each. I think
it's like $1 million he's donated.
I think it's $100,000 per month to organizations who benefit or whose job is to benefit the Black and people of color community, which is great. So I would give him kudos on that. I just wish he would actually did the research before he came out making statements that he did, and basing it on this fabricated.
Now, some people will say, some of the organizations he donated to is just anti-American, and anyway, people want to disagree with him, they're going to disagree whatever, regardless. But you're right. Even though I disagree with the kneeling and what it means behind it, he really has put his money where his mouth. So we only have like 2 more minutes. So Solomon and Cliff, if you want to make, but we only have like 2 more minutes. Solomon.
I echo what Howard was saying. I think back to the Olympics when those brothers raised their hand with the black fist.
Mm-hmm.
That was during a time where America really had government-sanctioned racism. I can understand, being on the national stage saying there's a problem here. we love our country, but there's a problem.
Mhm.
Now, I'm like Howard, what are you really kneeling for? The stats just don't back it up. So Howard said basically what I believe. I'll shut up.
Thank you.
Um,
Come on, Mr. Military Man. Come on,
brother.
Right with me.
man, okay, so look, here's the whole national anthem thing. I'm gonna go back to what you said. I'm back and forth on national anthem because to me it's more of an annoyance than it is an actual protest. To me, I look at it as, is it effective? That's how I look at it. I don't look at it as, throw the disrespectful part out. I get that. Like I said, I served as well. You know, this happened to me at a Pee Wee football game. We walk out and our coach took a knee while they played the national anthem, and I was embarrassed because he had these 5-year-old and 6-year-old kids taking a knee with him, and I was embarrassed because those kids don't know what it means. So my whole thing is, when you talk about this national anthem debate, my question is this all you're doing? Okay. If all you're going to do is take a knee and say, "Oh, look, I'm a football player. I take a knee for injustice," and then you go to the football game and you go hit the showers and then you go home to your mansion, I'm like, is that it? You understand what I'm saying? I'm taking a knee right now and it not mean nothing.
Yes.
So when it comes to the national anthem debate, my debate is, is it effective?
Yeah.
I don't concern myself with, you know, the I'm not gonna get on one side of the debate. I understand why you're doing it because of the injustice or the police brutality, because, you know, and I'm not gonna go ahead and say what everybody already said. It ain't the police that's killing us, so just stop it. Okay? We need to go ahead and get that point out. If you don't want to listen to the truth, that's on you. But it's not the police that's killing us. Go look in the mirror, and somebody who looks exactly like you, if you black, is the one who's doing it, but you want to blame this one guy who come out on TV. So that's the part that, like I said, is very annoying to it. Like I said, but I'm not going to tell them they need to be fired. I don't think the president was right for trying to interrupt that private business, say he's fired. He's doing it. He's playing on his base. He knows what he's doing. But at the same time, should they be fired? Should they do what? I'm not going to get into all that because that's not important. They have the right to do it. It's ineffective. Do something else. You understand what I'm saying? If you want to really show something, don't play. Don't play. Show them what football is like without black people. How about that? Then
without that paycheck. Without that paycheck.
Well, how about that? Well, that's good. Oh, this is good. I'm glad that we spoke. But the next time, you know what, we're going to have to discuss this. Being a single man, not being able to, not being able to have game in your dating.
Karen, let me tell you, Karen, listen to what you do. Karen, you should set up like a live stream date for these guys. If that's the
I want to know. I need to know about that.
Let me have it, Karen.
Next week.
Look, I thought it was just women in Atlanta that had it hard. I didn't know that it was
There's only 6 of us in Atlanta, so it's all good.
All right, but anyway, thank you all for participating. And again, Howard Nelson Cromwell's, his website is called theconservativeurbanites.com. And my group is called Black Conservatives for Truth. It is we have a closed Facebook group, and then we also have a public page. The closed is where you can kind of talk more freely and, you know, just discuss issues of the day and, you know, try to find a conservative perspective. So until next time, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
See y'all.
See ya.
Hey guys, it's the Conservative Urbanite. Thanks so much for checking us out. If you like what you've read, saw, or heard, please be sure to share, follow, like, and subscribe to our social media platforms. Also be sure to join our TCU tribe of free-thinking conservatives via our Facebook group. If you loved what you've read, saw, or heard, please consider supporting the Conservative Urbanite, which is personally funded with a monthly or one-time donation via our Patreon account or at www.theconservativeurbanites.com/donate, where every little bit helps us to bring you better content. Thanks again and have a great day.